broken. Don't ever forget you're golden. I will find a light in your soul. I'll be there. Never leaving you in the darkness, even when you're out of focus. I will be the light in your life. You'll see it clear. I'll be your inspiration, 'cause I know that you'll do just what you're told. I'll be your hard-earned temptation, 'cause I know that you'll make it on your own. Baby, you can count on.
There was a time in Rocket League's history when passing really wasn't the key to winning at the highest level. Back in the day when I played split screen doubles with my friend on PS4, back when we completely sucked, we joked about how someday players would just be passing it back and forth down the field. That was such a crazy thought to us. Well, that's pretty much a reality now. You really can't succeed at the highest level anymore unless you are intentional about making and receiving passes. Against really good teams, it's just too hard to score any other way. Teams have such strong defensive rotations now, but no defense can stop teams who know how to execute passing plays. This is probably my favorite part of Rocket League, even though I really have a long way to go in this area. There's honestly nothing better than setting up a pass play and seeing it end in a goal. It's just a really cool feeling. There are 4 main types of passes in Rocket League. Every pass that you make will fall into one of these categories. There's the power clear pass. This is basically where you make a clear, but with a bit more intention, by hitting the ball to your teammate downfield. I guess you could also call this a downfield pass. The backboard pass, which is obviously just a pass to a teammate off of the backboard. The back pass, where you pass the ball back to one of your teammates in the backfield. And then the infield pass. These are passes across the field to a teammate. Obviously there's some overlap here, especially between passes that are sort of clears but also infield to one of your teammates. Regardless, this basically covers everything. In this video, I'm going to look at each one of these categories and give you some tips so that you can hopefully get better at passing and ultimately win more games. I hope you guys find this helpful. Those of you who are higher level players and you do a lot of passing, make sure to let us know in the comments if there's anything I missed. I like to think of a power clear pass basically as a clear with a bit more thought put into it. Being able to clear the ball out of your half is an important skill that you need to have to alleviate your opponent's pressure and then transition back onto offense. I've made a 12-shot playlist for passing, and the first 4 shots are basically just power clears. Now, if you don't know how to hit power clears, just do those first 4 shots without worrying about where you're hitting the ball. Just work on the timing and try to get to where you're hitting the ball high and hard down the field. The key to directing your power clears is your car's positioning. When you're doing these shots, practice getting into the correct position and then hit the ball in different directions. Also, work on hitting lower and higher shots or shots with less power or more power. I'm hoping that someday we can have super bots that we can just pass to in training. But for now, just try to hit the ball to certain parts of the field because that's really all we can do at this point. You really don't need to have perfect accuracy with this because really most of the weight is on the person receiving the pass to be in position and then get to the ball. One tip I have here is to learn how to implement power sliding to get your car in the right position. This is actually called a turn and clear, and it's really hard to get used to doing, but once you get it, it's super helpful. I guarantee that if you practice this training and you start getting more consistent, you'll start automatically implementing this into your gameplay when you're actually in a game. Also, some pro players like to switch to car cam right before they clear it, just to give them a bit more precision. So if you fancy, you may do that as well. There's another type of pass that I guess you could consider a type of clear. It's really just a way of alleviating pressure, and that's the backfield pass. This is where instead of clearing the ball downfield, maybe because you know one of the other players is just waiting there to hit it, you instead make a small pass to one of your teammates who is also in the backfield, and then you just let them clear it. This takes a lot of focus and self-control, but if you can learn how to do this every now and then, it's really a great way to transition back onto offense. Though not quite as effective as they once were, passing the ball off the backboard is really still a great way of breaking down the defense, especially in the lower ranks. The key here is really communicating what you're doing so that one of your teammates can be up for the shot as quick as possible, maybe even before the ball hits the backboard. One thing that many players don't do enough is hit those higher aerial shots off the backboard. A lot of times you just sort of default to hitting the ball at the goal, even when there's 1 or 2 defenders in the goal. If you've got your teammates behind you, you're probably better off just passing the ball off the backboard so that one of your teammates can then come up. This is really a great way to draw out defenders. You can also practice passing the ball to yourself on this one as well. One skill that is really helpful to have is being able to look around and see where your teammates are. Practice looking to your left and right before you pass the ball. Again, if you practice this enough, you'll start doing it automatically in game. This is one of those skills that even a lot of pros don't really use. There are some players like Scrubkilla and Squishy and K-Dop and Jacob who use this a ton. Now, like every other skill, it just takes time to get used to. This type of pass is something that even the pros really aren't doing enough. It's an incredibly effective way to break down the defense. Honestly, whenever teams do this against me, I just get really pissed off. I don't know why. It just makes me really angry. Mainly because there's nothing I can do. Try not to use this as a last resort when the other team is basically taking possession of the ball. I've had people try to pass it back to me when I'm the only one back and the other team is clearly going to get to the ball before me. And they're like, oh, here's a pass. This really needs to have more intention than that. And if you communicate what you're doing, it's really effective. You also don't need to be as cautious as a lot of people think. A lot of people think that the only way they can do a back pass is if they just slowly roll the ball backwards. But you can actually hit it pretty hard back at your teammates. Also, if you shoot the ball with a little more speed, the other team isn't going to be able to intercept your pass as easily if you're just trying to barely roll the ball backwards. The last type of pass that I want to go over may be the most important out of all of these. Infield passes are really the best way to break down a defense, especially in threes. Better teams usually have someone in position to defend the corners and defend the backboard. So you need to learn how to pass across the field to your teammates. I like to do this when I'm controlling the ball and I'm heading down the side. I switch into car cam and I try to get around the ball as fast as I can and then just shoot it out into the middle of the field. This is somewhat risky because one of the defenders may anticipate what you're doing and then have a pretty easy clear down the field. So you really need to communicate with your teammate what you're trying to do. You can also make infield passes from the air as well as from the walls. I've included a few shots in the training pack that will help you practice these different shots. Try to just be creative when you're bringing the ball down into your opponent's corner. This is technically an infield pass, and the best way to get the ball out into the middle is often to do a flick or just to get a last second touch on the ball before the defender challenges. The key to making good passes is awareness. In part, this comes with more playtime. You have to get to where shooting and defending and positioning are somewhat automatic before you can really become aware of where your teammates are at all times. A lot of times when I'm going to be playing for a bit, I like to pick one thing that I'm really going to try to work on. So next time you play, just try to focus on making passes and being more aware of where your teammates are. Be patient though. It takes a long time before you can start consistently making pass plays happen. I know that I really have a long ways to go in this area. Also, passing in Rocket League isn't like passing in, say, football. And by football, I mean American football, not soccer football. I gotta make sure I don't call this kind of football soccer, because if I do, apparently that means that I think America has the best football, or soccer, whatever. God, just leave me alone. Anyways, passing in Rocket League isn't quite the same as football or basketball, because the person receiving the pass in conventional sports is really more limited. Like in football, the quarterback really doesn't have a whole lot of room for error when they throw the pass. But in Rocket League, the person receiving the pass is actually a rocket-powered car, so a lot of those limitations aren't there. The pass can be a bit higher or lower, or faster or slower. With that being said, you still have to hit the ball into the general vicinity of your teammate. I guess my main point here is that the person receiving the pass needs to position themselves based on the passer's momentum and based on their positioning. This is really meant to help you guys learn how to play with more intention in-game. It's easy to just get in a rut and hit the ball the same way over and over again. But after a while, you just become predictable. Making good passes will make you and your team incredibly unpredictable. I'm going to end this video by just going through the training pack and giving you some examples of how you can work on passes with this. There's really no right way to do this, just be creative with it. Alright, I hope you guys found this helpful. Let me know in the comments below what you want me to make a tutorial on next. Peace out.
Hello.